So we went from, at that point, we had about 110 apps that we made. And since then, we've averaged over 4 apps per day as a company.
I've been looking forward to have you on there and get down some deeper to what you're doing with the GHL Plugin Marketplace. You're the founder of that marketplace, right? And you have quite some success with it. Tell us a little bit about it.
So there's actually 2 of us that founded it together, me and Ezekiel Valmy. And it really came from the idea that I wish I could take credit for the idea. I can't. I'm a business mentor. I used to own some companies here in the States, sold those about 4 years ago and started mentoring some businesses. And I had actually used HighLevel to run my companies. I started HighLevel in late 2018. And so once I sold those companies and I started mentoring with businesses, they of course needed to be able to do some of the things that only HighLevel allowed them to do, or like everybody else, they were using. I knew that they needed to create all of these other systems, whether it's Infusionsoft or Plus this or all of that. So I just natively went to HighLevel. Well, I needed HighLevel to do things that it wasn't able to do out of the box. And so Ezekiel had actually worked for me in my prior companies. So we kept working together in the sense of, I'd say, hey, Ezekiel, I need this built for this client. So we would. And here's where the idea for GHL Plugins came about. Because I work directly with businesses. And so my main niche isn't necessarily the agency space. I work with businesses and solve problems for them. And so Ezekiel came to me and he said, hey, all of these things that we've built for your clients, most businesses running inside of GHL need these same things. We should make a company and we should just license this stuff. I was like, that's a really good idea. And so that's what we did. And I asked him what we needed and set aside some investment money to be able to hire 6 full-time developers at that time. And so I asked him, like, hey, how much money do you need? And then how much time do you need to develop these things? And so he said, give me 6 months. And then he brought forth some really amazing tools 2.5 years later. And we've since developed, I think, 20 or 22 plugins. And then about a little over a year ago, we decided to go all in on the app marketplace. We're seeing really good traction with the plugins. Still today, like our very first tool, the custom values form editor, still this day, nobody's come close to touching that. And so we're entrenched in that space, but we really wanted to make our mark with the development of third-party tools to make things simpler for agencies when they need a business to be able to do things within sub-accounts. So we started with GHL Plugins with the idea that, hey, businesses need to do things that don't natively happen easily inside of HighLevel. So we did that, and then we transitioned into how can we make life easier for the agencies? How can we reduce attrition, increase the speed in which onboarding can take place? How can we help the agencies support their sub-accounts? And a whole list of other things that we're able to do with the plugins. And then we started leaning heavily into the app marketplace because I believe that that's a critical area because, well, it's a beautiful thing because since they're premium workflow actions, agencies can charge and that penny per transaction or whatever they want to charge for a transaction or the workflow action. I think it's great.
We're both working to very close to extremely growing market, right? Both connected to this ecosystem that's constantly growing with great entrepreneurs grows that ecosystem for us, and being able to hook in with third-party software and piggyback on the growth going up with a growing community is really what you're doing. Or would that be fair to say?
Oh, when I jumped into the HighLevel group originally, I think there was 7,200 people inside of the Facebook group. It was really early days, but the thing that I love so much about it was
6,000.
Wow, it's grown almost by 100,000 people. The thing that I think one of the reasons I was so drawn to the group is it's not they're brilliant marketers, but it's a genuine helpful group of human beings.
You obviously have a lot of plugins. You mentioned 23, but I saw something in the group the other day about reaching over a couple of thousands different automations in total, right?
We have so at the summit in October, we had just started leaning into apps 3, 4, 5 months earlier. And it was really a critical moment because we got some great feedback on our plugins from everybody at the summit, as well as the developers actually from HighLevel. That was a really neat experience. And the idea of going all in on apps is really, that took place there at the summit, of leaning harder into it. So we went from, at that point, we had about 110 apps that we made. And since then, we've averaged over 4 apps per day as a company of getting them made.
Really?
And
Sense a lot of AI there.
So, well, we have 26 full-time developers. So yeah, there's obviously AI involved to speed things up, but we have a very large team. Our GHL plugins, we have 24/7 support. We have, I think, 35 full-time support staff just handling the questions of the apps as well as the plugins themselves, and then the 26 developers. But yeah, so what we've been doing really for the last 2.5 years is we've just been poking around to HighLevel's API. And if you've ever developed inside of HighLevel, the API has functions that aren't necessarily mapped out. So we've done an exceptional job of documenting that, where when it is time for us to be able to do something or deploy things with the apps, for example, there's a large percentage of those that we self-funded, to where we actually paid to develop the apps. But a large percentage of them, people paid us to develop them. And so actually, I'd have to look. I think when I made that post last week, it was 1,105 apps that we've actually made inside of our market.
That's crazy. How much maintenance do you have on that? The API is changing, right? It's dynamic, so it's a lot of maintenance and being on top of announced changes going to take place, etc. How do you handle that?
Yeah, we have very good project manager that takes care of that, and thankfully, the HighLevel's at the time where they know that marketplace and their partner developments, which we're one of those, certified team, everything else. They know that the future, that they're actually better if we're better and better supported. So they've done a really good job over the last year of making things more transparent and giving us more heads up. Hey, for example, they're going to be making some changes, but I can't say it, but they're going to be making some changes that they gave us heads up at the beginning of April. So it's not like we just, a lot of people like Zapier or something like that, they just, all of a sudden things just stop working. We get a heads up, which is helpful.
Awesome. And I think we're all curious to hear which of the plugin is the best seller, and what do people rave about?
You want me to show you?
Yes, of course.
Cool.
Let's dive into some of the geeky stuff. I think that's the right thing here for the audience.
So this is the very first tool we created, Custom Values Form Editor. It doesn't look like much, but imagine the first thing you do is you create a snapshot and then you push it into the snapshot. If you're super smart as an agency, you've realized that you can standardize custom values, which makes your life super easy. Now the problem is the custom values don't push over when the snapshot is pushed over, right? So you have to go and have a VA and map them out and everything else. So what this form does, you can see here, you can drop one custom menu link. So inside of our system, you go to the snapshot and you say, I want all of these custom values. These are the values of those custom values. It's a little bit confusing, that I want to automatically load as a default, right? So a new user.
Any new sub account?
What's that?
On any new given sub account?
Exactly. So what you're looking at here are the actual custom values of the sub account that I'm in, or I'm looking at a brand new sub account and it's just loading the defaults of what I want these to do. So custom values, you can do a couple different things. You've got a color picker. You can upload a file, hero image, logo, everything else. And then if I hit save, and it's going to take a second, well, there we go. It's super fast. So now I just updated all of the custom values that are inside of this form. If I go over here to page 4, you can see that I've got more description. But one of the things we actually improved this custom values form with is we turned custom values into what you see is what you get editor. So somebody can come here, they can make the changes, and I can pagify.
Before I push the new account, right?
Exactly. And if somebody wants to hit enter twice and type in JSON, and if I want to go down and save custom values, it's going to save and it's going to put in those 2 spaces of enter, and it's going to do that. Now we went one step further, and we actually have integrated AI now into custom values. So for example, if I wanted to make one form and I only wanted to make one field that says, give me 2 sentences about your business. And I could type in GHL Plugins is the leading developer inside of the HighLevel market space for plugins and applications. And the form itself allows me to put in a prompt that the customer can never see, the client can never see. And then I can populate all of my other custom values using that one thing.
So
Yeah.
whatever it thinks is necessary for that use case.
Right, exactly. So
Wow.
we actually improved on that because before it was a custom menu link. So the idea is, hey, you can either embed the form into a funnel or a website, or just drop it over as a custom menu link. But what we did was we created this little onboarding tool. So once you've created, the very first time that somebody goes to a new sub account for the very first time, this is going to pop up. Now, when I set this tool up, I actually have the ability as the agency owner to blur out this left menu. What that means is when somebody comes to my sub account for the very first time, they can't do anything on the left menu. All they can do is click here. And we actually invented something called internal routing. So what it does is when you click it, it routes the user directly to the area that they need to go. So if I want to go to missed call settings, right, it's going to take me directly there. Now, then we connected that to, oh, what if we could do this also and allow them to update their business details, which for us as the developers and nerds, those are custom values. What if we did that? See
That's
where it goes.
amazing. And then you can do that on the back end for that account. Take away massive of the
Right.
administrative work you would do onboarding new clients, right?
Yep.
That's super cool. So thank you for showing us that. I would like to hear more about the marketplace and all the items that you have there, but we have another 6 minutes, and I want to dive in a little bit to a real life case where you've seen things gone 10 times smoother. Give us an example of where you come in with this and where the real value of getting that sweet momentum of scaling, because you already have momentum, but you can tuck in the administrative work, being an agency, onboarding your clients. Can you give us an example? What can we implement to get that
Are
like
you talking about for
scalability?
Oh, scalability? Yeah, absolutely. The custom
Yeah,
values are a big one. The onboarding tool that I just showed you, that overlay. But on top of that, we actually created a project management system that's white labeled for HighLevel. In fact, all we do is we just build things for HighLevel. So everything we do deploys inside the agency is completely white labeled and completely integrated for users and contacts. So the way that we built the project management system, it actually then connects to that onboarding tool, that little overlay that pops up. So every time I click on that onboarding tool, I have the ability to apply a tag to the user's content of the sub account because that's a contact inside of my agency. So the reason that that helps to scale is because right now, if you sign up 10 new clients inside of HighLevel, if they're self onboarding, you have no way of knowing what stage they're in, what have they done, what haven't they done, what are they stuck at. So our onboarding tool combined with our project management system allows you to create a completely transparent view of where every single client is as they onboard through the process. And then you can create automation where, so for example, if Christian comes in and he's stuck at number 5, you haven't set up your phone number. Hey, I can set up automation 24 hours later. Hey, Christian, it looks like you may be stuck. Let's set up a call and we can intervene. So
yeah. Like if we want
scaling
to
is
help or wanna poke the client to say, get this step down so we can get down to the good stuff, right?
That's exactly right. Right. So those onboarding
Amazing.
tools are great, combined with
Really,
the custom values and the project manager.
really cool stuff. The last question I'd like to ask you before we start to round off, if you would to give one advice for anybody who's starting, there's a lot of the people in the Go High Level community who just starting out, they see all these shiny objects everywhere, don't really know where to start. If you had one advice to give them, what would you say?
Go to a local business and solve one of their major problems for free. That will give you the ability to actually learn the tool and deploy it in a way that you can help somebody that has the potential to pay you.
Amazing. Jason, thank you very much for coming in on such short notice
Yeah,
to do this
it was a
with us.
pleasure.
I'd love to have you on here again to get to know more about you and the things that you're doing. You're a high contributor to the community, and I really hope to see you here again.
Thanks, Christian. I appreciate it. It was a pleasure.
Okay, take care, Jason.
Bye.